Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people who hate reading. This month's theme is sequels that were better than the original, so we picked Mission Impossible 3, and we have movie news for you at the end of the program. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, Ryan Deadman Preston, and Rob Charney.
The old guy's here!
So it's my turn to read the description of this movie. So here's the description.
This movie.
Ethan Hunt comes face to face with a dangerous and sadistic arms dealer while trying to keep his identity secret in order to protect his girlfriend. So, Ryan, you're first.
Oh no, I need to be passive aggressive about that, John. You go ahead.
Nope, it's your first.
You seem like you have an opinion that you're ready.
Gotta have an opinion.
It's your first.
All right. I just feel like I should have to defend it rather than plead my case.
You don't have to do anything but be honest. Let's hear it.
Okay.
Bring it up.
Look, the reason I picked this movie is because we were doing movies that were better than the original. This is not only far better, well, not far better than the original.
I would say far better than the original, but what are you comparing it to?
The original.
The original.
So, yeah, standards are low.
Before you want to clarify, well, before clarifying, you're talking about better than the original movie.
Yes.
Just the movie.
Not
the
TV
movie.
Yeah.
Right. No TV show.
Oh, yeah, don't bring TV show
I'm talking about the original movie and the series of movies that they did.
Yeah.
And that being said, far better than the second one, really in particular.
Yes.
This was like one of J.J. Abrams' like early movies, and his style's already kind of right there, and it's a style that I really like, much more than John Woo.
Yes. Yes.
A lot less fire, a lot less doves. You know what I mean? But I don't know. This one, Philip Seymour Hoffman is the bad guy. Really sold me, especially with the cold opening that they did.
I do agree with you on that.
That set it up in your head, just like, oh shit. You know, I liked that they didn't go into some kind of insane explanation as to what this crazy technology is that they're going to have to come up with some kind of bullshit answer for. It was just like, this is something that you know as much as they do.
It's a MacGuffin. It's like the Pulp Fiction briefcase, which I thought was cool.
It's something to move the plot along, which is perfectly fine. You know, and then everybody can have discussions about what's in the briefcase. But the motivations in the movie were obviously entirely different. Said from the description, he was trying to save his girlfriend, whose character I really liked. I liked his team. I liked pretty much all the characters. Some damn good actors.
Yeah. Ving Rhames,
that was the
just
Asian
love him.
chick that for some reason all she does is sequels. I think she was in Die Hard 4 also.
Was it the Michelle Monaghan Julia?
Yeah.
Or is it the other chick?
And then, you know, bringing back Ving Rhames as Luther Stickle. The first one, obviously, you know, was amazing.
I always loved his character. His particular character in here was always funny.
Yeah, hell yeah. And the third one, I like that it never even mentions anything that happens in the second one, but it does mention the first one with it's like breaking into the CIA. It's like that's gonna make this look like nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Getting the knock list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was a freaking awesome movie when it came out, and that was like 96, I think.
Yeah.
Or 95 even.
It was around
and
then.
so this one just kind of updated sort of that same feeling of the first one to me, and I freaking enjoyed the shit out of this movie.
Well, that's saying something because that's 10 years. That's a 10-year difference. So
I do love the technology they injected into the beginning, that chick's nose.
Yeah.
You know, when she was talking,
yeah.
I'm fine then, you know, and then the way they did that was extremely well done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that it, Ryan? Really?
Well, I mean, yeah, pretty much.
That was a Skype pause, or was
jump in anytime.
Then I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna let Rob go.
I was gonna say, I'll go then. I actually didn't hate this movie. This was definitely better than the second one. And Philip Seymour Hoffman, I actually think he could have gone a little more sadistic in this movie. And it would have been. I thought he could, because I thought he was kind of nice in this movie.
I thought he did a great job.
I think they should have amped it up just a little bit, but that's me. But
I thought, you know, I mean, somebody like Philip Seymour Hoffman brought all that subtlety to it.
Yeah,
you know?
true. I think.
Yeah, I kind of like the subtle psychopath kind of thing.
Well, that's
he had
definitely.
going on.
I mean, it was and he let it be known he was a psychopath too.
I love his, I love his reaction in the Vatican mirror.
Yeah.
You know, he was up there and there was Tom Cruise behind him, and he just kind of glances back, going, "Oh."
Yeah. This is going to take me a few minutes to process what I'm looking at.
Yeah. I think my favorite scene in the whole Vatican thing was the take a picture and put it in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And nobody notices it.
You know, I wasn't even going to.
Well, they're going to notice it when it gets, dark.
Yeah. Well, that was the one thing I'm going, this is probably the most unrealistic part of this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, but how about when he held up the card and said, "Okay, but read what's on the card."
Yeah.
I mean, come on, even Speed.
What?
Come on, even
read
Speed,
what's in it.
Yeah, read the
Speed
card.
was like, really?
Yeah. I mean, come on, read the card. What?
Well, that actually makes sense, though, because they do. I've heard similar to things in video games that you can have people read a sentence.
Understood.
And that's enough of their thing to you can repeat their voice.
I understand why you did it, but it was just. I mean, my reaction was the same as his. Actually, what? Do what?
Well, I kind of understood what was going on, but I just didn't
believe for the nose injection, but not that.
Yeah. Nose injection, and then and that brings up. Well, that I'll wait for my opinion. I got my own.
The question
rant.
is,
Go ahead, John.
The question is, could they have picked a more stupid paragraph for him to read?
Well,
it's looking for
it
vowels.
Was supposed to cover all the things that the human language would use.
Right, exactly.
That's what it was.
And they actually have
that.
They have that. So
I think the other thing that made me go really is when you stopped a big missile with a standard, over-the-counter flare gun.
Oh, jeez.
Because I was really wondering, does that even get hot enough to sidetrack a missile?
It depends on how cold the background was. I think it's possible. I think it's possible that depending if the background was cold enough and the missile was close enough to the flare, I think it's possible.
Okay.
On an older heat-seeking missile.
Countermeasures are, aren't they? Is flares?
Well, yeah, they're big. Yeah, of course,
they're
very, very hot compared to just your standard flare gun. But you're right. That's the idea behind.
Because they're like a magnesium flare.
It's and what they call chafe, which is basically aluminum foil, and between that, it disrupts its ability to lock onto its target.
So I was wondering, during the beginning of the scene where they're getting the agent that got captured, did anybody think that gun platform he was using remind you of Missile Command? Because he was using those trackballs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
okay, yeah. It took me a second to realize what you're trying to say.
That was kind of weird in some respects. I mean, that was...
that was...
Yeah, that was...
too fantastical, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's good, but... running 4 of those trackballs, and I don't know.
I was thinking
it was kind of just sort of tapping on them like congas after a while, just sending rounds at that building.
Yes, right on. I agree. That's what it looked like.
It was just like, that's an evil version of Missile Command.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of.
Haphazard.
Yeah.
Like a 10-year-old playing Missile Command.
It's actually... I would have loved to have had those, though.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
That would be a blast. No, all puns intended, I guess.
If he could do that, I think the technology would have been enough where they would have been able to automatically lock on the target.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
And he wouldn't have had to do any of that.
Yeah.
Sure. I was actually just thinking they were probably there for like 45 minutes just setting those damn things up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody noticed.
And Tom Cruise does it in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I do have to say, I think this one was better than the original far as it actually had it set things up that you didn't find out till later, which the first one did. The second one, not really much, that if I remember correctly. The plot was actually decent in this movie because you kind of wanted what's going to happen next versus, it's just another stupid John Woo action movie.
Right. Well, they managed to kind of up the ante of the first one without making it completely insane.
Yeah. Which is hard to do because generally sequels are, like all Michael Bay movies.
Right, yeah. But I think J.J. Abrams might have been trying to make a name for himself at the time also.
Which I actually think he did pretty good. This movie, well, it wasn't completely full of subtleties, was enough that you had to think about, which I liked.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I still think they borrowed the scene where he was strapped into the seat. I think the first Casino Royale movie with Daniel Craig borrowed that. You know what he's getting the
I didn't see a swinging ball.
Yeah, there's a lot of tortures that people get tied to chairs for.
I was gonna say I don't think they really borrowed anything from that. I think
it reminded me of it then maybe.
Okay, it must have just reminded you of it because the chair that Daniel Craig was strapped to was far different than the chair that Tommy Boy was strapped to.
Yeah,
sure. So what about you, James?
Well, I gotta say, Philip Seymour Hoffman. I can't say his name right now.
Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
It's all right. I don't know any of their names, so it doesn't matter.
I think he did a great job
Say anything.
as a bad guy.
Okay.
I actually liked his bad guy. I liked the sadistic kind of psychopath role that he played, where he was very calm about it. I do gotta say, when they first get him into the plane, what the hell? You actually use real names during a mission?
Yeah.
That really bothered me, because all of a sudden you see Ving Rhames just start yelling, Ethan. I'm like, well, now he knows your name, dumbass.
Well, maybe
and
Ethan isn't really his name.
Yeah, but
that's
don't
just
you
his
kind
job
of assign
name.
code names kind of going into these things?
Yeah,
like Buttercup or something.
Yeah, like Monkey Ball. Stop it, Monkey Ball.
Or Agent Zero.
Or you're the Blue Ranger, I'm the Red Ranger.
Or you could totally do the Reservoir, Mr. Pink. Will you stop that?
Yes, yeah. I was disappointed he didn't just cut the wire and let him fly out.
I thought the same thing.
That's what I wanted.
If you're the bad guy right there, and they took the time to take you alive, and you're not giving up anything, they're not going to kill you. Seriously. Anyways, so that bothered me. As far as this is supposed to be high class spy movie, the IMF. Anyway,
I love the chick's comment at the end. Seriously?
That really bothered me
when he's explaining what IMF is.
Yeah. Should I?
I thought that was kind of a joke on the original, who the hell
was his girlfriend at the end.
I know, yeah. Anyway, the other thing that I was going to bring up was the fact of, now there's supposed to be a very, sophisticated intelligence agency, but they're being, bested by some idiot holding the what was it, broadcast button on a walkie-talkie down?
Right.
Yeah.
Really? You can't communicate to everybody and tell them, kill the guy. Just shoot him in the head.
Change the channel one.
I was going to say, if I heard that music, I'd just kind of like, okay, let's go to channel 6 now.
Yeah.
Now,
exactly.
Have
honestly,
some sort of preset thing that happens.
I was a little bit disappointed by Lawrence Fishburne's role. He is a way better actor. Was being underutilized.
That's right. That's what I was going to say.
Completely underutilized.
I just don't think he was not the actor for that role. I think if you got a no-name actor, I think they would have been better.
My opinion, I agree with you guys. I don't think Fishburne was used properly. Sorry, Ryan, I stopped.
I kind of disagree just a little bit. I thought he did a lot with kind of what he was given.
A little bit. Yeah, did a lot with nothing.
I agree. I agree on that, but I think
not much of a character. Not like the writing was shitty, but just it wasn't much of a character.
That's a good way to
the character was very
clarify
thin.
what we're trying to say.
It was very one-dimensional. It's here just for this part of the story. That's really it.
Right. But for me, what was really interesting in that part with Fishburne in the other guy that worked under him. I'm sorry, I don't know that actor's name.
Billy Crudup.
Okay. You didn't know in the beginning who really was the bad guy.
Yeah.
So they did a good job of hiding that part, as far as I'm concerned. There was a bit of a twist in that. So I went, okay, that was cool.
And then they also explained it very, very simply, which I like. It wasn't overly complicated.
Yeah.
That was the part that I actually thought was in spirit of the TV show a little. Not really knowing what was what, enough to keep you guessing, which I liked. And I think it was also in the spirit of the first one especially.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to bring up is we were discussing J.J. Abrams' directing ability. I am actually very shocked that Johnny Boy over here did not mention anything about the shaky cam.
Nope.
I'm actually impressed, because there was quite a bit of shaky cam on when they were focusing in on a few faces and they were delivering their lines. It's kind of like the camera was not really staying still with them.
Well, that really
the airplane scene had a lot of that.
I didn't think it was much as a
I understand
gimmick.
when it's the airplane scene, but when it's they did it a couple times when they were stationary in a room.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think it was as much as a gimmick as a lot of other movies use it. This one, it kind of fit. It wasn't.
I think it was excessively used a couple times.
Well, I don't disagree, but it wasn't as much as a gimmick like some movies go, for no reason. This one was at least.
J.J. Abrams has a good way of making sure you see everything cool that's going on.
He
always takes really incredible angles for stuff.
See, I'm not
seen on the bridge with the Predator drone coming back and forth. Which, before you,
I was gonna leave that scene alone for a moment, but now that you brought it up, I'll bring up my points in a moment.
I was gonna say because I know exactly what you're gonna say.
I'm curious. What are you gonna? I want to hear.
impossible to outrun a Stinger missile that Predator's on.
Well, I agree, but
if you can survive a nuclear bomb in a fridge, you can outrun a missile.
Ah, good point.
That's actually not what I was going to bring up. I was going to bring up the lack of skill of these bad guys. Now, he's calling out to whoever's controlling the Predator drone what Tom Cruise is doing as he's looking at him through a gun scope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, why don't you blow his ankle off
or just
when you see it?
Shooting. Yeah.
And then when he's
sniper.
assembling the rifle right
sniper.
there and you know where he is because you see his head bobbing,
Mm-hmm.
why aren't you unloading your magazine into him so he doesn't assemble the rifle?
Shoot from a chopper, with the downdraft of the blades.
The SEAL team,
for a lot of things.
There's
the
a lot
SEAL
of
team out there
totally take your windage into effect.
I'm just saying,
I'm sorry, it's a 60-foot distance. It will have no effect whatsoever.
One at a time.
but I'm saying if they are trained, they already know this stuff.
Yeah,
and they're supposed to be trained elite guys who come up with some specialty thing to destroy the side of the...
I don't know. So you're assuming that the camera view was actually a person's view.
Yeah, because it's got crosshairs in it.
Well, I don't know.
You have a camera with crosshairs?
Well, the only...
Maybe.
I was going to say, the only thing you could say is that he's an IMF agent, so maybe for some reason he's just so badass. It's the only thing
they can't take a shot.
I kept asking? Yeah. Well, here's the problem with it. I wanted to know if it really was a rifle scope or not, because what I saw on it, now we're going to get a little technical in gun talk here.
Let's go ahead.
Right? When you have a sniper scope, the hairlines that come from the side and work their way down,
yes,
what that really is by ticked off at graduations is the width of a man's shoulder.
Yeah.
All right. What you did not see in that scope was the dot that was supposed to be there.
The mill dot?
As well. The mill dot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in there at all. The picture is totally clear. So I thought, from looking at it, it was more like a set of binoculars than actually a rifle or a spotting scope than a rifle scope. Because I couldn't find a dot. I couldn't see a crosshair.
Okay, let me just bring this up again.
Okay.
Okay, so you have your binoculars.
Right.
You can obviously see an enemy combatant.
Right.
Hold on.
Right.
You don't reach over and grab a rifle?
Well, then you
I'm
lose
just
him.
saying.
Then you lose him because he's running too fast.
He
was stationary. You're watching him assemble a gun.
Hey, I'm just telling you that what I saw in the picture that I thought was wrong. It looked to me like it was binoculars versus a rifle.
So what are you going to say, Ryan? What are you going to say?
I was going to say, look, I mean, that missile gets dropped from that Predator. Luther has time to tell him, hey, get out, the Predator's shooting at you. And then he runs away from that missile. He'd probably run that bullet too.
Well,
run a bullet.
You know what? I'm going to give him props. That boy can run. Because if you watch him in some of those running scenes, and there's that one really long scene where he's running like crazy, he can run.
Yeah, he can. He is short.
He is a little guy.
So little men can run like Marvin the Martian.
That's what it is.
So
how
anyway,
many times did he have to run?
Now back to Tommy Boy's character. This is just his normal character. I've never really seen him play a different character than some well-trained, supposedly special forces of some sort character.
Yeah,
He's always played a character like that. What?
Jerry Maguire.
He's a highly trained, well-trained lawyer.
Well, okay, but
So
sure, he's
So he never plays a novice of any kind.
Yeah, he never plays a novice of any type. This is the same role that he always plays. Some over-the-top,
pretty much from Top Gun,
badass guy,
right?
That can basically do no wrong.
Right.
So that's that. I would like.
It is what he's good at.
And don't forget, he thinks he thinks his job is harder than the military.
I was going to leave that alone.
That was actually taken out of context.
I know. I'm just
but
saying.
Still,
I will give him. That's the only credit I'll ever give him. But I'll give him credit for that.
So
anyway, jumps up and down on the couch and Oprah's.
Oh jeez.
So do you have any extra points?
I'm just saying he's talented.
So do you have any other points to say? Let the old guy go.
Okay, well, first thing I want to do, since this is Veterans Day, is tip my hat to all those veterans out there. Thank you for serving.
Guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I want to make sure that you get your props for all that work that you did that I didn't. So
and thank you for watching Real Flix Reviews.
Thank you for watching Real Flix Reviews. Well, all right, so one of the things that was interesting is that Jonathan and I watched this movie with Jonathan's girlfriend. And when the movie was over, I thought this was interesting because there's no woman in here, so we have no woman's point of view. So I asked her, I said, what did you think? And she said, well, I guess if I was a 15-year-old boy, I'd like the movie. So I can see right away it's not a chick's movie. So that was an interesting answer off the bat. That gave me a clue.
15-year-old boys like True Lies too.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. And of course, there's so much of the technology stuff that just
Ryan's face.
Well,
I'm just saying, I might have picked in my demographic a little bit.
You're a 15-year-old boy.
You're a 15-year-old boy. That's right. Some of the technology behind the brain bullet, and up the nose into the brain. It's going to scramble your brain anyway. So that's an instant. Exactly, it's an instant lobotomy. That would never happen. So that bothered me off the bat.
I agree on that one.
Yeah, and of course the mask scenes are epic to all of these MIs. Okay, it doesn't matter what it is. You always have to have something.
Well, but that means MIs were always doing disguises. They were always doing that TV show.
60s and 90s.
Yeah,
always.
But I don't know. It just something about it. It looked too hokey to me. But hey, considering this was 2006, it was pretty damn good.
I actually liked the scene with that was cool when she had that mirror. Take the kind of the semi 3D photograph.
Right.
And that device that actually cut it. I actually thought that was
for that period of time, that was pretty cool.
I thought storyline-wise, it was a lot better than all of a sudden, boom, they have an instant mask of the guy. I thought that was better.
Yeah, the old day, it was a vacuum form mask. And there it was. They could have done the same thing.
You can tell he wanted to have a lot of nice nods to the past, really good ones, but then tried to make a good way to explain everything.
Yeah, totally. I understood. And it's iconic to it, so that scene had to be in there somewhere. And then, right. I would have liked my psychopath to be a little more psychotic. Really, I did. To me, it seemed very tame.
I was thinking I
thought the subtlety of it was nice. Well, that's what I enjoyed about it.
That's the reason he's gotten away with it all those years, is because he doesn't get out of control like your average psychopath.
Yeah, I was thinking if he played it more like John Travolta in Swordfish, I think I would have liked it a little bit more. Like the highly intelligent, extremely psychopathic character like John Travolta does really well on.
Yeah, well,
I don't
know. It just seemed, it was.
You're not talking about Battlefield Earth.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
No, but anyway, that was pretty good.
You're fired on that.
Oh,
jeez.
Even Ryan can't hold his composure on that one.
Yeah, I got that one on. But,
anyway, sorry.
That's okay.
Keep going. You got more. I know you do.
It's just some of the scenes are just with. I don't know. How much damage can a human body take and still keep on moving? For instance, one of the scenes was that big ass explosion that took place, I think, on the bridge, right?
Yes.
And Tommy gets thrown like 200 yards and bounces off the side of a van and just kind of gets up and shakes it off and runs off.
And then goes and picks up the rifle in a second.
And he didn't even have the bat suit on him.
I mean, it's just not going to happen. I mean,
But he works out better than Olympic trainers, so he's got to take a beating.
Man, I want to see somebody just halfway through the movie of them getting their ass kicked, half their faces just swollen up like they've been in a boxing match for 10 rounds.
A little more realistic,
Yeah.
He would have never gotten up from that. So so I looked
mouse over his eye or something.
And then I think the scene of him on the bridge when he tries to make that big jump and he misses and he's grabbing the edge of there and he's trying to dig his way up. That scene probably took 30 seconds and it was the worst 30 seconds in the whole movie. It was like, gosh,
it's not as unrealistic as the scene of him jumping off the one building and landing in the other one. That whole scene was awesome, like, really?
Yeah, I mean, the impact that you would take off that first jump would almost knock you unconscious, and then you got to kind of let go and land on the other building, and then you're taking another impact right after that one, and then you take another impact when you stop sliding.
Right.
And then you get up and run.
We all agree. Awesome, so that part of this movie was just so impossible. I mean, it's not going to happen, but it's all part of the movie. So it still kind of made the movie cool.
But it goes. What I would defend this on is it goes into the mythology of that character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The training that he's got. The training that he does to keep that way. Mm-hmm. But my thing on that is, I always appreciate the movies where you show that they go into like some type of short retirement, and then they train back to get back into shape.
Right.
He didn't do that. Well, so that's kind of where I'm like, you know.
So all right, so he kept his training up. I don't know. There's so much.
Wait.
It's like killing everybody with a pen. You know, he got that pen that time, and he kills like 15 guys in a room, takes it apart, and gets his handcuffs off. Man, that guy's quick. I mean, I don't care how much training you have.
There was that one scene in the last James Bond movie where Daniel Craig you saw him try to get back in shape, which played up to the fact that he'd been sidelined for quite a while.
You know, I appreciate movies where they do that. Like, you know, the one thing I would always have to give credit to, even though I do not like the movies, is Rockies. All the Rockies, every time that he was getting ready for a match, half the movie was training. At least half the movie was training. So, you know, that's something that I always give respect for. But I mean, even Jean-Claude Van Damme did that in some of his kickboxing movies. Come on.
So what did you say, Ryan?
Sorry, Ryan.
I was going to say that's what those movies were about, though, was him training and fighting.
Yeah, that was the storyline.
That's true.
And you got to remember, Stallone, and he only has so many gray cells left anyway. So,
but the motivations for this movie was entirely different. Just because, I mean, well, look at when you actually went into the building after the big swing and whatnot. They never showed what happens inside the building.
No, of course not.
You're not really worried about what's happening inside the building. You're worried about, is he going to make that phone call on time?
Yeah. I actually wanted to see what he was doing in the building.
You know what? There was probably 2 hours worth of film they shot inside the building, and none of it was usable.
Well, I actually got to give it to Ryan on that one, because I actually enjoyed that, because, you know, he goes in the building and then you don't know what's happening. All of a sudden you hear him just kind of like running.
My thing is,
you screwed up.
It's coming out another way, or it was.
Look up.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, my thing is, they said, well, this is going to be harder than getting the knock list, and they don't show it. That's the part that's kind of like, it's hard to make that comparison and not actually show how hard it is. That was the part that was kind of bugged me.
Yeah, I give it.
So, I think the motivations, you know, of the plot. You know, it was kind of a clever little choice to not.
I give you that, and that's got to go into J.J. Abrams' directing ability. That's just fantastic.
What do you give this movie, Ryan?
10.
No, not at all.
He's a 15-year-old boy. What do you want?
Look, obviously, we can sit here and punch holes in the movie. You know what I mean? As far as, like, he's not going to outrun the missile, the jumping over the thing might have been a little, you know, exhibitionist. But as far as just I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman really was the reason that I chose this, just because he sold that bad guy so well.
I give you that.
There's far too many Jaws, you know what I mean, or odd jobs of the villain world, you know. So to see something like this I thought was awesome.
He plays a better one than Mike Myers.
Right, and I'll give it a 3 still, though, which is pretty much what I would give the first one, but I still think it's better than the first one. But I still have to give it the same rating.
It's not as slow as the first one was. That you got to give that credit.
Not at all.
The momentum of this movie is pretty good.
Yeah.
Definitely brought it into the new age of pacing. That's for sure.
So, what about you, James?
You know, I have to completely agree with Ryan, except for I don't think it's as, you know, I don't give it as much accolade as Ryan does, but I don't think I would give a higher rating than the first one, which is still a 3 for both. But you are right in this fact that the pacing makes this one better than the first one, and some of the choices that J.J. Abrams made in the way that he directed the movie and brought things out, I think is better than the first one, but still it's a 3.
What about you, Rob?
So I take it just pure enjoyment, or just sitting there watching a movie, because as we discussed, there's so much wrong with the technology and the things that you just go, hey, you know what, the hell with all of that. How did I enjoy the movie? It kept me entertained for the 2 hours or whatever it ran, you know. And no, it's not the best movie in the world, and I'm not a big Tom Cruise fan either, but I was entertained by it. But you know, I agree, I think it's a 3.
I also gave it a 3.
Wow.
It's an overly entertaining movie. There's parts.
I'll take it back. I'll give it a 2.
There's parts of this movie.
You got to be the odd man.
There's parts of this movie that definitely bugged me, but overall the pacing was good. There was no really slowness to it, and you actually wanted to know what would happen to Tom Cruise's girlfriend, which kind of surprised me that I actually gave a shit. Honestly,
you did, because I
little
didn't.
bit.
And you only gave it a 3?
Yeah, I didn't care that much.
I didn't care.
So, you know,
the one scene though we didn't talk about that is interesting is that when he thought it was his wife, it was actually the translator. Remember? She was in that. That was a good.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And you brought up the mask, and that was a good mask on her.
Yeah.
So that's
not as good as the Total Recall mask, but
of course not.
So gave it a 3 out of 5. So next is movie news, and since
I never even thought about that. That could be a sequel.
And since
remake.
Next is movie news, and since Ryan unfortunately didn't have a chance, don't
forget I get to pick a movie.
James decided to pick up that torch.
So I got 3 things. 2 are discussion. The first one is more of movie news. The other 2 are just kind of discussion things. So you brought up Daniel Craig during our discussion, and that really kind of ties into my first bit of movie news. Ryan, I assume that you have seen Layer Cake?
Of course.
Okay, John? Rob?
No.
Okay, it's an older Daniel Craig movie. Like, I think it came out right before he released the second Bond. I think it was
I was going to say maybe 04, 05.
Yeah,
maybe
so
06.
What was the first Bond that he did? Wasn't that like 04?
Layer Cake was 2004.
Okay, what was the first Bond? I think it was right around there.
Casino Royale was 06.
Okay, so it was right before.
Say, yeah, it had to have been after that.
But I know it was right. Anyway, I won't go into Daniel Craig's movie accolades. Anyway, now the 2004 Layer Cake was a really great movie. It was kind of an underground. It wasn't so much of a blockbuster. It was more overseas. Anyway, but Jason Statham is going to pick up the sequel for Layer Cake as playing the main character. And it's still Matthew Vaughn is the director.
Is it the same character or is it a different character?
I believe it's the same character as what I believe, but let's see.
So he's playing Quadruple X? That's what the name is according to IMDb.
Really?
Quadruple X.
The Layer Cake Triple X?
Quadruple X.
Quadruple X.
It says XX.
Oh, yeah. It says, okay, you're talking about the character. Sorry.
Yeah, characters.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the actual sequel was going to be called Quadruple X. I'm like, oh my God.
Probably not. Be in the wrong theater.
But, if you look at Daniel Craig's acting ability and then you look at Jason Statham, I mean, Daniel Craig is so much of a better actor than Statham, to be honest.
I don't know if we've
James, don't forget about the stuff that he used to do with like Guy Ritchie. I mean, Jason.
Yeah, the Guy Ritchies were great.
I don't think we've really.
But it might just be look what happens when you get him in his home, country, and with a British director who kind of knows his sense.
Yeah, but I mean,
here's my question: has there been a role for Jason Statham that really stretched him? I haven't seen any movie because he plays the same.
I don't think so either. I mean, because he did all the what are those things where his organs were being taken out?
Oh, there's that's high voltage or something, and then there's the transporter.
Transporter.
Those are all like the same things where he's a
badass character.
Yeah, but not just a badass character, but he's always driving.
Like the
really.
It's what the driver, right?
Yeah, that's really what it is. But then you look at the Guy Ritchies, and he does a fantastic job in the Guy Ritchies. I mean, really does. So he does have an acting ability, but I mean, the Layer Cake one is more of an actor-driven movie, not an action-driven movie.
So I'm looking forward to seeing it then, because I'd love to see a role that stretched him more. At least to see if he could make it.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But I'm kind of interested to see it. But I like the original Layer Cake so much. I mean, I didn't think it was as good as the Bonds, but I mean, I thought it was up there at least.
Yeah, it was a really cool movie.
Yeah, it was a really cool movie. Anyways,
so what's your discussion?
So that was the first bit of news. I just want to bring that out. Excuse me. And then my second bit of news is, have you guys heard that the Star Wars is actually going to be doing open auditions online?
How about that?
Isn't that kind of a strange thing? But I mean, it's
great. What a great way of seeing new talent you would never see in any other way. Somebody doesn't have an agent and all this. I
just hope they release the footage. That's
that would be kind of cool.
I'm sure they will. But I mean, think of the marketing geniuses that is Disney.
Yes.
There are, however, you're going to talk about the release date.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to bring it up.
Because they did give a release date for Disney. It was December 2015.
Right.
And I know a couple of people who are actually pretty pissed that they didn't release it on the original release day, like the first one was actually released.
Gives a shit.
Well, I thought it was interesting.
That's my next bit of news. I thought I'd give you a heads up on that one.
So what's the next bit of news?
The next bit of news is that there's been an article released about gun violence in movies and how it's, what do they say, doubled? It has, more than tripled since 1985.
And
it's doubled since 1950. Now...
Well, look, man, in a world where you can get internet porn at your fingertips whenever you want, there's no need to put boobs in a movie anymore.
I actually agree with Ryan on that one.
What's happening with these things is that, one guy does it now, and, another wacko, somebody out of his mind says, hey, that's a good way to do it too, and I'll do it too, and they're just copycatting each other.
But it's the same crap, and John will back me up on this, that came out with in the 90s, of that video games are warping kids' minds,
right, which is totally
making people kill people.
And then it goes back, and then it goes even farther to the 70s and 80s when Margaret Thatcher, wench, came out and was boycotting every little movie, saying this is the naughty, and it's like, what?
What was she saying?
Naughty. Naughty.
I don't think we ought to get into the gun debate here because I'll go off.
I do have a question though. After Rob,
I'm wanting Rob to go off. That's why I kind of handed him my phone to let him read it.
Well,
it's just crap.
Yeah, it is crap. It's crap the way it's being reported. It's what has happened here is we've gone into a 24-hour news cycle. And so you've got to fill those 24 hours with something. Yeah. There's just not enough damn news for it. Right. So what you got to do is there's a shooting somewhere. You've got to cover it for 5 days straight. And make the story about it. The fact is, violence has been happening in this country since day one. We were founded on violence. We came and landed somewhere and shot a bunch of Indians. There's been violence everywhere. It's been going on for a long time. What's happened is, now news has to talk about something, and the genre of the day is guns. Whatever is guns, it's guns are bad. Instead of it's the wackos behind the guns. Yeah. And let's get to the real issue.
So here's
besides that, man, look, this bottom line, this is a free speech and free expression issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No,
I'd even go
it's art.
Well,
beyond that.
Here's my question to get back to the movie thing: is if they decided to somehow say, well, let's reduce the amount of gun violence in a movie, do you think movies would still be as popular? Because a lot of the movies nowadays are guns, shoot 'em up, or somehow have violence in them as part of the plot.
I think there's enough people that make the point as to what the guns play, the part that the guns play in the movies. I think enough people, sort of lead with that issue, like, hey, look, obviously people are dying, this is not good. I think most people should have the common sense and do have the common sense to know the difference.
Yeah, but I agree with you on that. But my point is this is basically brainwashing the younger ones coming up into thinking that guns are bad.
Right.
Which it falls on us as the generation before them to teach them not only accountability for their actions, because that's where it really comes to. Rob brought it up. It's not the device being used; it's the person using it. So it's the accountability on the person that is doing it.
Well, let's not even look at gun movies. Let's look at Japanese sword movies or anything.
I was thinking car racing movies. I don't watch Bullet and start whipping corners.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
In San Francisco.
But how do you think this is? Right. If they decide to limit gun violence somehow, how do you think it's gonna? You think it's gonna make people not?
They'll find a substitution from it.
They will.
We'll invent ray guns, and now we'll use ray guns instead of real guns.
Or you start make sure your gun knives is more.
Well, yeah, and that's the point. And that's kind of like what England has gone.
That's what happened.
I mean, So it'll
or
it'll
New
be
York,
sword,
where they're going to hammers now.
Yeah, it'll be hammers. It'll be what's the movie Thor that's coming out? So it's going to be Thor's hammer now.
It actually came out Friday.
All right.
So ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end of the program, and next week is Rob's pick in this month's theme. So what's the movie you're going to grace us
let me ask you gentlemen a question here: are we at the end of the sequel thing, or are we going to continue? This is the last.
You're the last.
Okay, because that changes my ideas quite a bit. Because if we were going to go on, there were some really kind of eclectic movies that I was going to pick.
Okay,
but Because I want to see this movie again.
Uh-oh.
That's the
We
point.
do that a lot here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we do.
All right. All right, are you ready? Yeah, I don't know. Okay. It was directed by Jonathan Frakes. It is Star Trek First Contact.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
I would have preferred
like him.
Wrath of Khan, but it's fine.
But you don't like number 1?
This is this is probably I love this movie. We get to see the Borg as the Borg. You know,
I like the Borg.
It's the Borg,
And it has one.
No, it really sucks. I don't think I've seen the original Star Trek movie, so I'm going to have to watch that first just so I have to compare it.
Okay, well, you got a week.
And
Are you talking about the old Kirk original movie?
Or Generations?
Wow.
It's either Star Trek The Motion Pictures or Star Trek Generations.
The motion picture, because then
wow.
Well, because
the second one was Wrath of Khan, and then where's
Wrath
the
of Khan.
That?
Yeah, if Wrath of Khan had been a true sequel, I would have chosen that one.
I'm going to start going into other things before we get there.
But anyway, that's my choice, you guys. We all get to have some fun and be Trekkies for a little bit and enjoy it.
I've been going back through Generations recently. I like that one.
Yeah,
it's
me
fun.
too. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, cool.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Netflix, you
I
owe us
gave
money.
the movie Mission Impossible 3 out of 5. James gave it a 3 out of 5. Ryan gave it a 3 out of 5. And
The
Rob
German
gave it a 3 out of 5. The rare time everybody agrees. And do us a favor. We have a Facebook page, so do us a favor. Make sure you drop us a line. Tell us if you like the show or what movies you'd like us to review or even themes you suggest for the month.
Hey, and keep an eye on it because we're thinking about doing some live broadcasts coming up, and we'd love to have you call in and give your opinion as well.
You got to have an opinion.
Oh, we know you have an opinion. You want to share it.
Even if you want to just call and tell how much you hate us.
Hey,
I'm
always
cool. I'd be totally happy with that.
I'm always okay with hate mail.
Yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Goodbye. I want to see a Star Trek in the which is where Khan came from.
I learned something in this, and I didn't want to bring it up because it was out of off topic. The graduating lines on the crosshairs, that's for shoulder width.